Hello, Dynamics family. This is Mariana, and we are doing a recording on Kid Dynamics. And this month, we are focusing on the theme of love. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. And when I say we, it's because I have the privilege again of having a guest to have the conversation with. Makota, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yes. Now, we picked Makota again. And again, thank you for being here, of course. As always. We picked having Makota with us again for this podcast because it is about love. And it is about, again, having different perspectives from different voices along the way. And we want to sort of bridge that gap of having, different generational interpretations and perspectives on certain words and what that actually means to them. So let's start with what the dictionary says, just to have a basis of what love is from either online dictionary or paper dictionary or several different dictionaries, again, just as the basis. Love, an intense feeling or deep affection. I think we can all sort of understand that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. From what we've been taught or learned or shown or experience. Pleasure in something. That sound like love?
Yeah. I think that you have to love something to have it be enjoyable for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I could sort of go with that. Yeah. And then how about like or enjoy very much? I mean, to me, that reminds me of something I like versus I love, but I guess it's sort of like and love are in the same family.
Yeah, I think so.
What do you think about love, Makota? Let's put it to you. When I say the word love, before you answer that, I don't know how you feel, and I'll ask the listeners. Listeners, what do you feel about love? Like, how would you define love? Like, do you think it's overused? Do you think it's not used enough? Do you think it's used too easily? Do you think, and not even think, but do you feel? I think love is more of a feeling than it is like a thought thing. It's something that you feel. Listeners, take that second and think about, what does love mean to you? Well, we discuss it, right?
Right.
So, Makota, what do you feel about love, and how would you explain it?
Well, I think I'm maybe a bit of an oddball when it comes to things like this because I believe that a lot of people that I've interacted with use love very loosely, especially in my age group. They kind of use it to describe anything or everyone or anything that they enjoy just remotely, that they love it. Whereas for me, I kind of like to section that off to things that I really care about or people that I really care about. But it's not always about having to say that you love something or someone. And a lot of the time it's, again, like we said, a feeling or how you interact with them, or it's just sometimes you just click. It just clicks with that person or that thing. And then you're just like, yeah, okay, like you don't have to say those words, but you can if you feel like it's right. But a lot of the time it's just better to figure out how you express your way of love and then giving that to someone else or something else. So for me, it's spending quality time or spending time doing that thing. So if that's, watching a show with someone, if that's showing them something that I like, if it's hanging out with them, or if it's something like an object, then it's, of course, doing that thing for a while. But that's not the same for everyone, and maybe it's very different for the listeners here. But that's how I feel how it is.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, what you just said made perfect sense to me. If you're going back to the dictionary, because the things that you said is like it's a feeling, it's something that you enjoy doing, and I mean, one of their definitions is pleasure in something or
Yes.
a feeling of a deep affection. But it's like, how do you know when you love something? Like how do you know when it goes from that like part to that love part?
That's a really good question. I think that in all the experiences that I've had, it's just been a feeling over everything. It's like when it comes to people, either romantically or platonically loving someone, I think it's just that it happens and it's kind of like very sudden. You're just like, oh, like I like spending time with this person. They make me a better person. I have fun hanging out with them or being around them. And I want to express that maybe with words by saying, and I love you. And you don't think that you like this person is good enough at that sense, like that they went up a tier level in your head, or they went up in how you view them, that you don't want to compare them to people that maybe you just like hanging around, that they're more special to you.
Yeah, and that's it just, when you were talking there, it just brings up, there's I like you, and then there's like, yeah, I care for you, and then there's like, I care deeply for you, and then I was like, I really like you, and then there's that jump to love, because based on a person.
Yes.
Right? Now, when you get, I remember when you were young and you would get something for your birthday, you would get something for Christmas, like a toy or this or something that you really wanted, and you'd be like, oh, I love this so much. I love this. Like,
Right.
That's why I'm wondering, like, is it still love, or is it just they're super happy? The word love means for you as an individual.
Yes.
And then as a parent or guardian teaching kids, is how do you teach the kids about love?
Yeah.
I mean, you're a teacher, and finishing up to finish your degree. How, if that aspect, which I believe should be in every school in some aspect, not just about love, but about, some of the themes that we pick, some of the morals and values, and how to live a good, empowered life, like all of those things. Well, we've narrowed it down. We had 30 some themes, but we've narrowed them down to 21 now, but that we really focus on overall. And then how best do you bring that across to them? Because it's like, again, love is still such an individual thing, but you look at, that's why we always start with the dictionary definition, is because we want to start with the basis of what, if you look it up in the dictionary, or what has it been defined as by other people. And so how do you think you would teach that to, say, grade 1? I mean, you just came from a grade 1 class with your practicum. So, like, how would you teach them love or about love?
I think it's a very individual thing, and it's the same for when you're a teacher. The way that you would want to teach a subject is very much based on the type of teacher that you want to be, first off. Because for me, I'm actually just writing about this right now for my teaching degree, of what type of teacher I'd like to be. And I said that I'd like to be a global teacher, or like a more globally aware teacher. So I think that for me, that means I want to take from as many sources as possible, from as many backgrounds and locations and cultures as possible, and then apply that to my students and be able to not have them live in a little box. And so when if I would be teaching about love, I would do the same thing. I would, get as many sources as possible, ask every single student individually what they think it would be without telling them what it is. And then from what my students said, I would make up a better definition for what they as a collective have already seen it as, and then maybe share my opinion or another teacher's opinion of what it is. But I don't want to say, okay, this is what love is and this is all it can be, because that's what a lot of teachers will do, or a lot of adults will do. And for them, it's just, at that age, I don't think they're going to know right away. They're going to love their toys. They're going to love a random piece of food that they get, because they don't understand that yet. But hopefully with them knowing that it's a dynamic thing.
Yeah.
That it's, easier for them to realize that when they're older, it can expand and it doesn't have to stay the same.
Thanks for sharing that. I think just having the basis, though, of, and not just as a teacher, but as a parent or guardian as well, is just have them explore that along the way.
Yes.
And I like that point that you make. It's like, just because like I said, the definition of love is these things. And, even if you look at a few sources online of the definition of love, will say a few different things. Like they'll use a few different words and they'll say whatever. So I think it's just important to have those conversations so one can develop what healthy love is.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with loving a toy or loving, like you said, food, or loving a place that they go, or loving the friends that they're with, or loving doing an activity or whatever. There's nothing wrong with, it's not about a right or wrong thing anyway. It's just about how easily and freely people use love as a word versus a feeling.
Yes, I think that's very important, because I think that I use love in both aspects very differently. If it's just a word, then I'm like, oh, yeah, I love ribs or I love rice. But it's like, I wouldn't say the same way that I say love about those things, I wouldn't say to a person, because it's not the same feeling. I love eating ribs, but I'm not going to... The feelings that I get from eating something or from enjoying an activity are not the same feelings that I have towards a person, because that would feel pretty weird.
Right.
If you got excited about ribs as much as you got excited about hanging out with someone. They're separate feelings, or they're separate ways of using the word. And I think that people, when they use any word, not even love, that they kind of use it the same across the board, or they think that it has to be the same across the board, which is not the case at all.
Right, because we're ever expanding and we're ever changing and ever enriching our lives. So nothing ever stays the same anyway.
Yes.
I think the first thing, like I taught you when I was younger, because we started this Kid Dynamics program specifically because I couldn't find the program that I wanted to have to enhance your schooling. So I created this. And the first thing that I wanted to teach, really, about any of the themes that we chose and still choose to this day, is how does it relate to me? Love is great. And sometimes you think about love being outside of yourself, or loving something or someone outside of yourself, but it really begins from within.
Yes.
So it's really about whether it's, we've done self stuff, we've done, we're doing love now, we're going to go into a few other ones, but it all boils down to how does it relate to you? Are you love? Are you loving? Like I said, it's easy to do that. Do you love yourself? I mean, that's a huge one, especially for young kids, is because depending on the upbringing that they're having, in the different, the multitude of people that are probably in their life along the way, especially in those primary years, are they showing a good love example to teach that child or kid about how to love themselves?
That's a really good question, honestly. Because, I mean, again, it's probably a yes and a no, depending on who you are talking to. Even in my classrooms that I've been in, it's like you can, it's not something you'd ask a parent, how do you show your kid love? How do you explain love to them?
And how do you show them how to love themselves along the way? So when situational stuff comes up in life, they know that they can pick themselves first and go, well, I love myself, so because I love myself, good energy and good vibe around love, so then I wouldn't attract other stuff into my life. Or no matter what anyone else says or does, I know that I love me, because at the end of the day, that's who you have, is yourself. You have family and friends and everyone else, but it's like, how does one love themselves? And I remember talking to you about love when you were young, and you're like, well, is love like when I love you really used to like the dinosaurs, Land Before Time. What was that little guy's name?
Littlefoot, I think.
Littlefoot, yeah. And you're just like, is love like how much I love Littlefoot? And I said, yeah, well, something like that. That's because you are having the feeling, like, again, that intense feeling of deep affection for Littlefoot, what Littlefoot stood for, how cute Littlefoot was, what Littlefoot did, the example that Littlefoot was, how Littlefoot would overcome, how they would come together as family, and then, have all the little problems and solutions along the way as well.
Right.
And all the stories that they showed. And so do you feel that when it comes to love, especially even that Sophie quote that we had put on our social media from our Kid Dynamics program, that like, what does love have to do with it? I think we were talking about, theme was love when we were talking about that, and we were talking about a situation, I think it was in grade 1 or something, and then she had an issue, and then she was talking to another person in the group, and they were just talking about, the resolutions and what they would do. And then she's like, well, what does love have to do with it? Well, what does love not have to do with it?
Yes, love has to do with most things, I think,
I mean, if you lean towards love versus hate, wouldn't that make you feel better?
Yeah, it would.
And you would want someone to lean towards love instead of hate towards you. So, like I said, you give it out, you get it back. It's just ebb and flow. But again, it starts with you. So it's like, how are you loving yourself, and especially as a young kid? How do you teach someone to love themselves as a young kid?
It's pretty hard, I would say, just because I don't think they, especially at the younger ages, they don't really understand that concept yet. They don't understand that. I mean, I've seen it, and they don't understand the idea of empathy or caring as much as you want them to, perhaps. And it's just something that you have to kind of work on very slowly and introduce to them very slowly, give them examples, show them, videos, images of it, do it, like role play it out for them, things like that, and give them as many options. So whatever clicks with them on how they learn things properly or how they want to interpret it, that they can do it in their own way. But I mean, to force it is not going to make a difference. It's something that they want to have to do for their own reasons, and that'll just take time.
Yes. And I think, again, being a good example.
Yes.
And showing good examples of what love is versus not love is good. Like sometimes the opposite is good, because then you get that complete feel good, feel bad type of thing. So I think that is a bonus. And if you guys have any suggestions of how you teach your kids about how to love themselves first, so then therefore they can share the love that's already in them. I mean, the love is there anyway in the kids. Sometimes they learn the behavior of non-love from, again, environment, surroundings, family, friends, those that are like in their circle that are influencing them and stuff, or, from other people or TV or whatever it might be. It's not a blame thing. It's just people learn their behavior.
Yes.
And learned behavior oftentimes comes from those that you care and or are around the most. So,
yes.
Yeah. Do you think that you love yourself, Makota?
Yes. And I think that takes a lot of forms too. But I think that, yeah, I love myself, and that's something that'll continue to evolve. And just like how you might love ribs or rice more over time as you discover new ways you could make it, or different recipes or different flavors, I think that the love for yourself and the love that you have for others also gets more intense and more crazy maybe, or more different, and it expands, so even if you feel those feelings towards someone or something else, that don't just stop there. Okay, well, you love someone, but that love is going to expand as you get to know them longer, as you get to experience more things with them. And so those feelings and that like of having those feelings is just going to get better.
Yeah. I mean, it's a conversation that's very dynamic of the theme word love. Like they think, oh, the theme love, well, that's easy. Okay, well, it's easy because there's so much out there about it.
Yes.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's actually teaching the kids the opportunity, or giving the opportunity for kids to actually really understand what that is and means and feels and stuff. So So if you have any ways in which you show love, I mean, I know that there's 100 activities and lots of books and lots of storybooks for kids, and there's not, and all that shows all of that. But how do you actually encourage them to continue to the love that they know that they are when they're born, and how much love they are then to continue that as they develop of who they are as a person,
Right.
Yeah. All right. I am love, and I'm loved, and I'm adored, and I am willing and open to accept the love of the universe. And I just came up with that affirmation really quick. So what kind of affirmation or affirmative words would you say around love that you can go to? We often refer this to as like a mantra or something that, you can refer to when it comes to a certain theme.
Right. Well, I think one for me would be that I see love, and in that sense that I see how I love things or how others love me, that you can, see it, or you can sense it, or you can feel it, and using all your senses to understand love. So that's a very important one for me too, because love is everything. So.
Yes. Choosing love over anything else, and love, if in fact you're defining it as something that feels good, an intense feeling of deep affection, pleasure in something, or like or enjoy very much, as a dictionary says and states, then keep going that way.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good feeling stuff. So thank you, Makota, for joining us here on this Love podcast for the Kid Dynamics program and all of our social outlets as well. And we will post this when we're done. So love you.
Love ya.
Have a dynamic day.
Have a dynamic day.
Have a loving dynamic day.
Yes.
Loving. All right. See you, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye for now.